Okay, so let's go in the psukim and let's see. I'm going to take the beginning of the parsha. Everything is very difficult in this parsha. Parsha starts, Vayomer Hashem and Avraham. So just for you to pay attention, we have three of us. Three of them have four letters. It doesn't happen just like this. But Avram will deserve an extra letter to be five. So you will understand through what we're going to explain a little bit why these four letters. But mostly I want to attract your attention that on the psukim, you have to go after every possible aspect, every go around. And so you have 12. They have 12 Shvatim. But then Avram got the 13. Then we have the 13 Midas going, connecting to Bnei Israel. You will see how a simple introduction like this will make sense to you through the shir and will be a guideline in order to be able to handle. So, Vayomer Hashem el Avram, Lech Lecha me'artzecha u'mimeilatecha, leave your country, your place of birth, and your house, the house of your father, El ha'aretz asher areika. I'm not telling you where you're going, but you're going to go somewhere. Basically, there's a din of galus here on Avram Avinu. It's mind-boggling. If you look in the parsha before, toward the end of the parsha, and even here in the pasuk, it says here, let me grab a color. Vayetzu laleches atza Canaan. From the Yetzia, they knew where they were going. Vayavoyu atza Canaan. And that's the destination. They arrived to the destination. So why are all the Rishonim explaining here that El Haaretz Asher Ha'eka means he didn't tell him the destination? But you can see, I mean, just 1, 2, 3 psukim later, it says clearly that they knew from the beginning. And besides that, Avram already came out when he was in Haran with his father. He already came out of, he journeyed already. It says in the pasuk, "Vayitzu itam Ur Kasdim laleches arza Canaan." They already went to Eretz Canaan. They already went, so they didn't have to go to Haran. They went directly, and Avram was 5 years younger. So now, what's this whole tumult here? It's an Nisayon. It's a test to Avraham Avinu. Well, I don't know what kind of a test is that, but if I read the next pasuk, I'm telling you, he should have done everything he could for that. Ve'escha legoy gadol. I'll make you a big nation. Again, here, legoy gadol, the Gemara says that Avram was tumtum. He was closed. And therefore, couldn't have children. The Gemara Nedarim says, someone who doesn't have children is chashuv kemes. He's like a dead person. What would do a person in order to get out of the definition of mace? Someone who's in a tunnel. What will he do in order to get out of his misery? And here you're talking about the biggest problem. Sarah, the Gemara says, was an aylonit. She could not bear children. She had no rechem. Oh, you know what? It's very funny because if you take when we added him the letter Avraham equals, it becomes 248 equals rechem. It didn't have a rechem. So what would Avraham do in order to cure himself and Sarah? Is that called any sign? Now, looking in the hindsight, I'm going to tell you what the Midrashim say about the Ur Kasdim. That was an Nisayon. But that Nisayon, the Torah is not going to mention it. Abraham Avinu, after breaking all the idols, was brought before Nimrod. So there's a machlokes between Rabbeinu Bachye and the Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer Agadol, when Avram was thrown out into the burning pit. Was he 3 years old or 13 years old? In essence, there's a very little machlokes here, because both agree on the events that took place. So Avraham Avinu, though, told Nimrod like this: since the world is world, the sun has been rising from the east and setting in the west. Since you're a god and you pretend you're a god over all creatures, why don't you make it tomorrow rising from the west and setting in the east, and then I will follow you gladly. Why couldn't you save your father Cush from death? You're a god. At least your father you could have saved. This was a punch in the stomach to Nimrod. Did he? That's where the machlokes is. Did he throw him in jail for 10 years? Or did he throw him in the Kivshan now, and then when he saw he remained alive, he threw him in jail for 10 years? And through a bribe, his father was able to free him, and they took off. But still Nimrod was pursuing him, and he had to be hidden underground for another 13 years. In other words, Avraham Avinu, finishing the Nisayon of Nimrod, his whole youth went by. He's 26 years old. That's a Nisayon. What gave him the strength to withstand such a Nisayon? Us, as soon as we see a Nisayon, God doesn't like us, this and this, and I'm looking for a solution here, and I'm looking. Why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu send Nisyonis? Because there's nothing that happened. The world is run by Ashgacha Pratis. So what is this inyan of sending Nisyonis to people? But the person can crush. So what's the point putting a stumble block before a person who was good till now, and all of a sudden he's not good anymore? Basically, why is life designed like this by HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Because when we finish with one, Islam starts another one. What is whole philosophy according to the Zohar, according to the Midrash? What is whole inyan of Nisyonis? And why such a huge Nisayon like Ur Kasdim, when he was so young, so fresh, and he faced before everyone Nimrod, who was feared by the whole world as he was ruling over the whole earth? it's more important than writing about a trip, even if he didn't know where to go. The Ramban is giving a cloud. Is coming here and explaining the purpose of the Nisayon. There are spiritual powers, but these spiritual powers cannot come down to this world unless they are brought down by, let's say, a tzaddik. In other words, the fact that Avraham is going to teach his children tzedakah and chesed, this could only be done if Avraham Avinu brought these powers down from Shamayim, because they exist up there, but they're not here. And the way to bring them down is through a nisayon. He's going to go through a difficulty, and through that he's going to overcome the difficulty, the test, and with that he will own these midas, and they will be down on earth, and his children will be able to use it. They're going to become available. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is only testing tzaddikim. He's not testing Risha. That's the yesod of the Rambam, which has huge depth. In Emunah, in his Sefer Emunah and Bitachen, explains the Rambam something else. He says, don't you think that the Maila of Avraham Avinu was that he was Mekayim the whole entire Torah, as it brought down in Midrash Tanchuma, first Midrash Tanchuma on the parsha, on Lech Lecha. Says there were probably others that were tzaddikim to that point. They were tzaddikim. But the true power of Avraham Avinu was that he was able to bring tremendous spiritual powers down below. In the Sefer Haba here, we can see a little bit of the yesod of the Rambam. The Ramban. The Sefer Haba said, do you know why Yitzchak was zoichet to the midah of Gvura? Because of Avraham. Do you know why Yaakov was zoichet to the midah of emes? Titan emes leYaakov, chesed leAvraham. Why did you give emes to Yaakov? Because of the chesed of Avraham. The chesed encompasses, especially those who learn Otzros Chaim on Shabbos, understand that at the beginning, when the midas came down, inside chesed was the 6 other midas. So the midah of chesed encompasses all the other midas, and therefore he was able to provide to Yitzchak, to his son and his grandson, the midah of emes, the gvura, and the tiferes. Now you understand the midrash when it says, "Eile toldos hashamayim vehaaretz." These are the descendants, like they have descendants of earth, of sky and earth, behi barea, when they were created. Now, toldos is afterward. So the beginning of the pasuk and the end of the pasuk don't match. A person gets married and he has descendants. But prior to getting married, he doesn't have descendants. And at the moment of getting married, he cannot have descendants. It takes time. So what it means that pasuk Eile toldois hashamayim v'haaretz v'hi baream, says the Midrash, says the Zohar, v'hi baream b'schusoi shel Avraham. And indeed, if you pay attention to the letters v'hi baream, is be Avraham. What does this Midrash mean? Avram created Shamayim Ba'aretz now. Okay, he did Chesed. Yes, I know Tiferes is Keneged Shamayim, Malchus is Keneged Aretz. I need clear explanations. Wherever we turn our head, we have difficulties with the psukim. We need to clarify once and for all, what is the pshat in this psukim? Keeps on saying, the Sefer Haba here, that was Yaakov Shalem, he was complete. You know why he was complete? Because of Avram. And complete is Shalem, meaning he got the midah of Shalem. From who? From Avram. But we said before in the Sefer Abai, he got the midah of emes. So you get emes or shalom. Comes the Sefer Abai says, shalom and emes, it's one midah. Wow. Yaakov now has two midas, emes and shalom, because it's one midah. We learned already the Inyan here when Hashem wanted to create in Parshas Bereshis. Yeah, it was in Shul now here, so let me repeat it. It says in the pasuk, Chesed. Chesed v'Nivgashu. Tzedek Chesed v'Shalom nashaku. The Chesed and Shalom were kissing. Tzedek ve'emes nifgashu, and the Tzedek and the emes met. Explains the Midrash what this pasuk means. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to create Adam, Chesed says, yeah, he's going to do Chasadim, create him. Shalom said, no, don't create him, he's going to create Machlokes. Tzedek said, create him. Emes said, don't create him, he's going to say Shkarim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the Emes and threw him down below on earth. That's pretty unjust. Because also the midah of Shalom was against the creation of Adam. So why wasn't it punished? Unless you explain that Emes and Shalom is one midah, so both of them were punished. So let's look at it. Emes equals 441. Shalom equals 376. The difference is Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. Let me write it for you. Ms equal 441 equals Shalom Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. Okay? What does it mean? What is the Ms? You have to understand that sometimes someone is going to abuse you. He's going to make a mistake, and he's going to offend you. Put it that way. He's going to offend you. Now you have two ways to look at it. Medina, you can go at him. However, you have to be a bit brighter than this and understand. He is a shliach lidvar aveira. The aveira only happens through a rasha. So you know already who he is. But who's the messenger? It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You being tested. How are you going to react? Are you going to overcome despite the difficulty? Are you going to overcome the Nisayan, or are you going to fall under this Nisayan? As the Ramban said, Hashem Tzadik Yivchan. HaKadosh Baruch Hu only tests tzaddikim. So why is and the level of the test is exactly under one hair under his total powers. In other words, if a person has a coefficient of 80 in power, he will be tested to 79.5. Hashem gives him that little thing to be the difference and to overcome the... But what was the purpose of all this? Hashem knows the future. Hashem knows if a person will fall, or chaz v'shalom, or will rise. So why give him a nisayon? You know the future. What's the point of that nisayon? The Midrash says, about on the Akedah in Bereshis Rabbah, I think I wrote the pasuk. It's a difficult pasuk. Let me see if I wrote it. Yep, it's right here. It's a pasuk in Tehillim. Nosata lire'echa, those who fear you, the true fearers of Hashem, they have yira shamayim. You remember? Shalom adnus. The shalom, you don't have to make it with that person that offended you because of him. No. Because you show in your mind, you understand that it's from Hashem. L'shem shamayim, you do that. Now, you have reached the midah of emes. Remember, the midah of Yaakov Avinu is vav. Vav is long. It's going from the tiferes. For those who don't know the midahs by heart, this is the vav. Tiferes yesod. The two midahs together is Yaakov. Emes is the tiferes, yesod is shalom. And yes, indeed, you need to have the adnus of the malchus. So this is the vav, the midah of Yaakov Avinu. And all these koichos, I mean, all these, shouldn't say that much, because Yaakov Avinu was a Kodesh Kodashim, but he was put on the horse already by Avraham Avinu. So, Menachem, open your microphone because I'm going to need a bit of your help. I'm not an expert in English in ships. So, Nosata lire'echa, you gave to those who fear you, nes lehisnoises. A miracle to make miracles? Lehisnoises? I don't know. I mean, honestly, you don't even know that the verb like this. There's no verb. Mipnei, because koishet, sela, forever, koishet, makeup, What is David HaMelech saying here? Says the Midrash, the purpose HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent a nisayon to a tzaddik is to be like the mast, I think it's called, you know, that thing, the whole,
Flagpole.
the what?
A flagpole.
No, it's not a flagpole. The flagpole is where you put the no, it's in the center. It's called the mast. At least I'm pretty sure. It's a huge pole, and they used to go also look from there in the old time, go up to the mast. It's the highest point of the ship, and they used to look, you know, if there was any danger, you know, to look up. It doesn't matter now. You understand what it's called. What we attach, the drapes that we attach to the pole. You know, to catch the wind.
A sail?
Yeah, a sail, a mast, and a curtain rod.
Sorry, Doc, what is it?
A mast and a sail.
Oh, the mast and a sail. Okay, I was right about the mast.
Yeah.
Thank you. The pole there, it's only to put a flag there. But this is the mast, yes, and the sail. Thank you for the thing. So, explain the Midrash, the purpose of a nisayon is to make the tzaddik rise like the mast of a ship. The same way it is the highest point of the ship that you can see it from anywhere in the ship, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is megale the tzaddik. Why? Because when he gives him a nisayon, you see, Nes nisayon, it has a bearing here. He is mekashet the midas hadin. He is tempering the midas hadin. In other words, there was an Elohim, you know, growling here on earth. All of a sudden, you put the Yud-Ke Vav-Ke next to it with the mitzvah, with the test that the tzaddik passed, and automatically it doesn't come. The din doesn't come to earth. From the Midrash, we see two purposes to the nisayon. First purpose, and we're going to see why in a little bit, and it will be very well understood, that the tzaddik is always doing his avodah in a hidden way. Hatznei aleches. That's what he does. The Rasha is on the public eye, but the tzaddik is always. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants the world to recognize the tzaddik, so he gives him a nisayon, and with this nisayon, he's going to get far greater, and everybody will be able to see him as for who he is. And the second reason is so that tzaddik can overcome also the midas hadin, be a protector for the world. And the Midrash ends up, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't test just anyone. That's why he tests the tzaddik. Says, look at Avraham Avinu. He was 100 years old. Finally, he has a son. What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell him? Kach es binchas yechidcha. Go and sacrifice him. So don't wonder. So now, the Midrash opens our eyes that a nisayon shouldn't be judged negatively. In contrary, it's a positive sign that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves the person and wants to do good to him, and he has the strength in to overcome that nisayon. Just going to prove that point here because it's really inside the psukim. If you look, how does the nisayon of the Akedah start? Acharat dvarim ha'ele, right? After those things. What do you mean acharat dvarim ha'ele? These are not dvarim. I mean, he had a very hard life. Avraham Avinu, very, very difficult. Because if I would tell you what the Midrash Tanchuma says about Lech Lecha, finally, when he arrived to Eretz Yisrael, that day started a huge famine. That same day, he had to keep, not open his suitcases, but go on his way to Egypt. And look what happened in Egypt. First thing happens to him before he enters the country, they take his wife. And the next day, Paro wakes up, says, take you off and leave the country. Again, on the road. So when it says Lech Lecha, it doesn't make really justice. And while he's on the road, people have heard about Avram, that he was proselyting and everything. So the kings were trying to plot. They were plotting how to kill Avram. He can't kill such an important person directly. So they plotted to go to war with the other kings to capture Lot, and obviously Avram will come to. And all this happened one after another. We think, no, he arrived here at Canaan, and everything. He opened his suitcases, he bought a house, and no. It took a long time. So, Achara Devraim Ha'ele equals 511. Hadevraim Ha'ele mean these nisyones. If you take Yud K, which is Chachma and Bina, the first letter of the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but in Milui, sorry. So you have Yud, Vav, Dalet, Hey, Yud, equals 511. You can see the source. In the words of the Pasuk, we see that it comes directly. There's no nisayon that can reach a person unless it's from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but not just anywhere, not from the Vav Hey, from the Yud Hey. The Chochma and the Bina, Keser Chochma Bina, dictate like this. And yes, it's very difficult because we know we're in Milui here, and we know that Milui equals 86, like Elohim. So yes, on the outside, look at Eob. It was a very difficult nisayon. But what's amazing here, we take this time 2 equals 1022 equals Bris Kodesh. This tells you how tough is this nisayon. But despite the toughness, look where it comes from. The nisayon always comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if a nisayon touches that person, means he can overcome the nisayon. The world, from Adam to Noach, there were 10 generations. From Noach to Avram, there were 10 generations. 10 generations, Reshaim, 1 tzaddik. 10 generations, Reshaim, 1 tzaddik. There were darkness in the world. These people have brought 20 generations of people that bring only choshen. And that's what the pasuk says, Ele toidos hashamayim be'aretz behi baream, and which are the letters be'av raham. Be'avram equals 250. He was the Ner, equals Yud Ke Vav Ke Ke. It's the Kavanas of Ner Chanukah, you know them. Yud Ke Vav Ke Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. Yud Ke Vav Ke Eloikim. Now Chanukah is not long. So here you go. You have the Kavanas of Adlak of Ner Chanukah. That's the Ner. Avraham Avinu explained to the people, because the people in that time, they were all tremendous chachamim in nature and at the same time also in the side of Tumah. So their first 10 generations before Noach, they went all the way to the left side, the top side of Tumah, like Esau's side. They got destroyed. After Noach, they understood that they cannot exaggerate. So they went to the side of Ishmael in the Tumah from the side of Ishmael. And that's what they took. And that's why, they were not completely destroyed. And this is also 250 is Derech Hashem. Those words will resonate very soon. What is Derech Hashem? Is what Avram showed the people. He was fighting with them in order to prove them, because they were doing kishuv. They had powers. Why should we stop? All of a sudden we become nerds. We become idle. We can do things for ourselves. Here I have a problem with a neighbor. I say a shem of Tumah, and boom, the neighbor is gone. I clear my problems like this. Why should I live with the problem? Why do you give me a way, Avram, that I should have emunah? Only through emunah. Look what you suffer. So that was the debate of that time. They had those powers, and now give it up and live only with emunah, like Avraham Avinu, or but from what we just said, we understand why Avraham Avinu had to have 10 nisyonis. Because the world was created. Okay, he brings the Ner. What is that Ner? That Ner is that the world was created with 9 times Vayomer in the pasuk and 1 time Bereshis. The 10 Ma'amaras, the 10 Diburim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to create the world. And all of them, because of their conduct, these people have destroyed them. And came Avraham Avinu, with each Nisayan, he repaired 1 Ma'amar. But how did he do it? It's already fine if you had the Akedah, you had Ur Kasdim, you did the biggest Kiddush Hashem possible on earth. What more can be requested from you? You sacrificed 26 years of your life. You had no youth. But Avraham Avinu doesn't have a problem with that. He doesn't have PTSD. He doesn't have any of these weaknesses that you find in the marshmallow heads of people. You know, tzaddikim used to go to war. David HaMelech, he never came in. Yoav ben Tzeruya, his general, never came back with PTSD. They used to come back and go right away to the Beis HaMidrash and go learn. What's the side in this? How can we overcome a nisan? Or how can we make it disappear? The Zohar HaKadosh in Parshas Vayeschanan reveals the side. He said that the key is to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A person should love, is mechuya, to have great love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like Avraham, that's why we say in the morning, Ahava Rabbah. There's a difference between the night, we say in the brachos of Kriya Shema, Ahavas Oilom and Ahava Rabbah. In the morning we say Ahava Rabbah, at night we say Ahavas Oilom. Why in the morning? When everything is chesed, meaning in order because even a chesed could turn into a nisayon. The person sees all of a sudden that everything is bright. Vayishman yeshurun vayivat. If he's not prepared, if he doesn't have a kli in order for the bracha to be inside there, he will dissipate and he will become crazy. So a person, in order to prevent a situation like this, a person has to develop a love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but a great love. Like the love, Avraham Avinu loved HaKadosh Baruch Hu beyond himself. Not his body, not his nefesh, nothing. For him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could take everything. It's anyway his. He didn't have a problem. All he was seeking was to be close to Hashem. That's all. That was the purpose of Avraham Avinu, and this gave him a tremendous emunah, and this enabled him to overcome a nisayon, because when the nisayon would come, he would not grumble. Whether this and whether that, nothing. He knows it's from Hashem. He knows there's only Hashem in this world. And therefore, as the Zohar says, only good comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The purpose of every nisayon, despite looking bad for a moment, it's a tremendous toiva. Because first of all, he's mezake. Let me tell you a story. You know what? It's not usually a story share, but let me tell you a story. I think you'll understand a lot better than if I explain it with gematrias. So it's going to save me time. In the city of the Mahasha, there was, so in the mid-1600, there was a Jew who was Rasha Lashamayim, terrible Rasha, and Rasha Labirius, and he was Rasha also with people. Not a good person, what we call a very bad person. Came up his time, and the Chevra Kadisha came, and they were metar him, they were cleaning him. And at one point, one of the Chevra Kadisha guys took his finger and poked his cheek like this. No, you waste. Where did they get you now? And the others laughed. It was a Russia. He went to bed that night and he has nightmares. And he sees that Jew pursuing him, trying to kill him. And he was schwitzing in his bed. He wakes up and he says, you know what, that's real. He felt it was real. He was scared to go back to sleep. So he went through the day. The next night, the same dream happened. The guy is really after him, trying to take his neshama away. Wants to kill him. Why did you poke me? Why did you make fun of me? I'm going to kill you. So he knows. These things don't come stop. I say, okay, maybe because, I felt a little bit guilty doing this. Maybe it's my guilt that comes up. But when it happened the third night, he went to the marsha. The marsha heard what he said. He says, sleep in my house. And that guy, what he was sleeping in, he was screaming out of fear. So right away, the marsha went to the room. He says, this is a Beis Din, and I'm calling you Ruach. I'm calling you to Beis Din. Look at the Kedusha of the marsha. Right away, the Ruach said, I agree to come to Beis Din. Woke up the man, says, wake up. The Ruach is here. You're both in Beis Din. So the marsha asked the Ruach, why do you want to kill that person? He said, because he desecrated me. He made fun of me. At the time they were cleaning my body. He poked my cheek, and he made fun of me, and he laughed, and they all laughed at me. So the marsha turned to the person from the Ur Kasdim, why would you do that? He says, because he was a Russia and Shamayim, Russia to people, he's going to go to Gehinnom no matter what. So we said, what did he help you? What benefit did you get from all these bad ways of yours? So the marsha turns to the Ruach and says, no, what do you say about this? He says, I am in Gan Eden. I'm not in Gehinnom. The marsha and the Ur Kasdim guy opened big eyes. You in Gan Eden? Yes, I'm in Gan Eden. Let me tell you the story, he says. He said, I was not a good person. And it's true, neither with people or with Hashem. But one time I was crossing the bridge on the Danube, which is a huge river in Europe, and not a river, it's a Nahar, but with white waters, going very fast. And I saw Yeshiva Bachur trapped in the thing and couldn't get to shore. So from the bridge, I jumped at him. I put myself in danger. I grabbed him and I swam very hard and I saved him. That's a mitzvah I did. But I didn't stop there. I like that both. So I took care of him while he was in yeshiva. I gave him money, whatever he needed, clothes. I gave him clothes. I bought him clothes. He got married, helped him, supported him. Today, he's one of the great of the generation, he told the marsha. He's one of the doilim of the generation. This is who I helped, this is who I supported. So when I came to Shamayim, and they looked at my avoidance and everything, they came, there were a lot of them. But once they brought that mitzvah, they said, the one who saves a Jew, he saves the whole entire world. And therefore, Gan Eden. So why did I deserve the shame to be treated like this? The Ur Kasdim guy had no answer. The marsha turned to the Ruach and told him, let me explain you what's happening right now here behind the scene. He says, do you think you are enticed to kill that person just like this? Because of what he did to you? No. The Satan is not happy that he didn't receive payment from you about your avoidance. There remain debt, unpaid debts. And he's enticing you to kill a Jew. So he would come and be mekatreg in Shamayim. You saved the life, but you killed the life also. So it evens up. Now let's go back to your avoidance. The master says, I advise you, be moichel to that person, otherwise you will lose your chelek in olam haba. Because this is what the Satan is after. The Ruach says, I am moicha. What do we see from here? We see that, yes, if you look up front, you're entitled, something, a schmutz was done to you, and you want to take it and make good on it. But you don't know who's talking to your ear to behave like this. You have to have emunah. You have to have the koyach to think that only HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only actor in this world. Nothing happens without him. And therefore, if a nisayon comes my way, I'm not afraid of the nisayon. Through ahava, I will overcome the nisayon. Only through ahava. Why? Because there is through ahava, we're going to have a consequence. When a person is in a time of a nisayon, nobody's happy. Nobody's happy to be tested. Nobody's happy to have a loss. Nobody's happy to be shamed in public. Nobody is happy of any of this. It doesn't please a person. He's hurt. What happens to a person when he's hurt? Could go to anger, but for sure, he goes to sadness. And that's where the Satan wants that person. When a person goes to sadness, all the mitzvahs that he does go to the wrong side. And even if he can overcome his sadness, but he has no joy, they remain in this world. From here now, I'm going to start the side of this whole inyan, and it's extremely powerful. Let's go into that pasuk. It says in the pasuk, Tachas asher lo yovato es Hashem Elokecha besimcha uvetuv leivav meroiv koil. In other words, it's an obligation to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu in simcha. Why is it an obligation? I'm just going to show you something. Don't want to pass a long time on this. Besimcha uvetuv levav equals 414 equals Ur and Sof. The Ur and Sof shines because every mitzvah, we understand that when you do a mitzvah, Leshem Shamayim, automatically we spoke about it already. It's called the mitzvah Leyachet Shem Yudke Bevavke Yudke Vav Mitchil Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. Trying to rush. Aleph Dalet Nun Yud equals 232 equals Yehi Oyer. So every mitzvah produces an Oyer. But this Oyer cannot come down, is not happening unless you have simcha. The simcha is the component that makes the mitzvah spiritual, go up, everything, and go only to the right side, not to go to the left side. And the one who does it with the wrong thing, 414 equals the three klipos, ketzef, all the three names of anger, af, chem. So instead, the person accomplishes the mitzvah, but instead of bringing himself a benefit from it, a light, he brings himself a oinish. Therefore, prior to every mitzvah, it's great to back off a little bit and think, I'm doing it for the mitzvah Yud Leshem Shamayim, to unify Yud Kevavke, the Kutsha Baruch HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the Shechina. So automatically you create the Ur, and now you are besimta. You have to make sure you are besimta. And at that point, you receive the light. I don't want to dig more on it because there's a little bit, I never finish in 1 hour. There's more depth into this, but I think the message is pretty clear. The Midrash Rabbah brings on the next pasuk, Hashem, and now we're going to close the circle, Hashem tzadik yivchan. Come. HaKadosh Baruch Hu only tests a tzaddik. Ve'rasha ve'oihev chamas, but someone who's a rasha, meaning has bad morals, or someone who steals, not honest with money, son or nafsho, HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates him, has nothing to do with him. We have 3 explanations in the Midrash. 3. First, 3 examples. Explanation, examples. First one is Rabbi Yonasan. Says, you have a merchandise. You made these, what do you call this? Kankanim, the wine jugs, whatever. This vessel where you pour wine. How do you say kankanim, Doc? Or who is over here? Menachem is here.
A flask.
Flask. Thank you.
Barrel? Oh,
Yeah, flask.
what?
Okay, you made flask with earthware with some come out good after you put them in the oven to cook them. Some come weak because some of the walls are not. When you want to show a client and you tap on it to show it's hard, which one are you going to take? The weak one and they're going to break? Or you're going to take the good ones and they're not going to break? Obviously, the good ones. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu tests only the tzaddikim. Comes, whose name is this? Rabbi Yosef gives another example. He says, when you have, I forgot the word just now, pishtan.
Flax.
Huh?
Flax is pishta.
Flasks. Okay. So in order to make it into fiber, into thread, you have to hit him hard, nonstop. The bad one breaks up right away and you throw it. I have no use for it. But the good one, the more you tap, the more the fiber, the more it grows the pile, and you have more fibers, then the more refined the fibers. And with this, what do you do with a fiber of pishtan? You do big demalchus. It's very important begadi. But it took a lot of work and a lot of beating before he got into that level. Second example. Third example from Rebbe Lazar, a person that has 2 cows, one very weak, fragile, sick, and the other one strong, an ox, when he has weight, stuff to carry, on which one will he put? If he put it on the weak one, he'll kill it. If he puts it, so for the bit of milk he's getting, at least he's getting something. So he's not going to kill it. But what is he doing? He's putting it on the strong one. Hashem tzadik yivcha. The question on that midrash, remember, it's a Tanaim. Tanaim didn't waste their words, didn't waste their time. What do I need? 3 examples to tell me the same. 3 examples. Could have given me 1. Each one of them basically comes out to the same beginning and the same end. So why would you say the 3 of them? In Kriya Shema, we have the second pasuk says the way to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bechol levavecha, bechol nafshecha, uvechol meridech. 3 different paths to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the truth is we have to unify them and own the 3 of them. When it's with all your heart, what does it mean all your heart? Bechol levavecha equals 106. Moyach, lev, kaved. Your body is unified, willing to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what the heart means. The heart is the one that's going to attach the both extremities, the moyach, the brain, and the liver. Together with the heart, moyach, lev, kaved is bechol levav. That example that shows the person, you see, he is more internalized, like he's a tzaddik. In his pnimius, he's a tzaddik yesodot. A person like this can overcome a nisyon, and this represents the kankanim. The first example of a kankan is to illustrate bechol nafshech. You put 1 in there. It's the most important drink that goes on a shulchan melachim. Bechol nafshecha equals 502. Malchus vav. The malchus and the yesod together. This is already a second midah. Basically, that the person not only is willing to unify his moyach, the lev, and the kaved together to do a mitzvah, but even if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to take his life, it's okay. That's part for him. That's the pepper in the dish. That's what he adds on top of bechol levav. And this is the example of the pishta. Despite the amount of hate you give him, still, it doesn't matter. My life belongs to Hashem. I'm here to serve him. I'm here for a moment in this world. I don't know when that moment is going to end, but I'm willing to put everything I have. And by the way, the one who does avodah through bechol nafshecha is nitzoil from Esav and Ishmael, because Esav and Ishmael equals also 502 bechol nafshecha. He has no shibud malchus. Bechol meoidecha, with all your might. Now, Hashem may take a person's life. Okay, he's done with this world. As the Zohar says, once a person is gone, Chazal say it in the Gemara also, when a person of this world, there's no more sina, kina, there's no more of these feelings, emotions from this world. They don't follow. But once a person is touched in his belongings, that resonates even more. Because he remains here, he remains with his emotions. And he has to overcome all this because now he address the new situation. And that's far harder. That includes the both before. That even if HaKadosh Baruch Hu touches me, like the Malach that touched Yaakov on the hip. Why? Because that's where the body stands. Bechol me'oidecha, the parnasa of a person is where he stands, what makes him stand. Otherwise, he doesn't stand. And that, the ox, a person is just stubborn. It does not matter. I know the source. I know everything. So they wanted to exemplify the way to serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that it has to be through this. And I'm going to be finishing on this. It says in the pasuk, Ve'oirach tzadikim. I don't. Maybe I brought it in, so it'd be a lot easier to look at it. I'm going to copy it from mine. Let me copy the whole thing. Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay. We have the first pasuk here in Mishlei says ve'oirach tzadikim ke'oir noiga. The ways of tzadikim is like a light, a shining light. Derech reshaim, but the ways of reshaim ka'afela, it's dark. And that pasuk also in Mishlei, lo yodu b'mei kashelu, and they don't know what they stumble. The question is, and that I'm going to first bring the explanation of Rabbi Yisrael Miruzhin 6 generations before me. Great grandfather. The Ur Kasdim. He goes on the thing, why by tzadikim it says oirach? Oirach is a small, in the mountains you have these little, he calls it like this. You have a way, you have a road from city to city, but when you go into a village, the road, you're never going to have a big road. It's always a little small
Path or trail.
A trail. Thank you very much. You have a trail. So tzaddikim are on a trail, and reshaim are, who are these reshaim? Who are these tzaddikim? Says the Rabbi Yisrael Miruzhin that tzaddikim always hide their ways. They're not in the public eye. They do the avodah hidden. And therefore, it's a oirach. It's a trail. But reshaim, every little bit of thing they do has to be known. About this hakafa here. About oizer danim for that much, and I did, and I... No. These are not the ways of tzaddikim. In the public eye, we don't do nothing. If you take the word oirach, equals 209, with the hey. Now you can say hey is like this or hey is connected. It doesn't bother me. Because tzaddikim always work to raise the malchus. Ha tzaddikim. Or tzaddikim hey. Whatever suits you better. That's the way of tzaddikim. We can see that this word they say is mamish emes on the and the way, like the third example in the midrash, it's equal also to erez. Very powerful tree. They don't change. They have a derech, but they're not going to show it. On the other hand, you have the derech equals 224. Equals Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, Aleph, Hey, Yud, Hey. In other words, the Shemis of the Bina. I know it's 2 times Yaboik. I don't want to go into it now. The Shemis of the Bina. We talking about Reshaim that look like tzaddikim that are holding into the Bina. The pasuk Shlomo HaMelech here, it says derech Reshaim ka'afela. He's not talking about these Reshaim that Mechal Shabbos or Befarhesia, they're not frum or whatever. No, he's talking about a person that you would give him your daughter in marriage. Tzaddik Yesoid Oilam, he looks like he's into the Bina, he's holding the Bina. That's what it is, derech. But you have to know, how do I know who is and who is not? Look at the publicity. Look at the person. Look if it's made in public or you really have to dig after a person to try to find something. Is he on the oirach or is he on the derech? That's the only thing Shlomo HaMelech gives us to be able to differentiate between between both of them. And that's the difference. When a person is on the oirach and he doesn't waste his strength trying to convince everyone that he's a tzaddik, he has koichos, he's a tzaddik. Mimele he can overcome the nisayon. But once the person is on a derech, he's a faker. That person, first nisayon, first little win, he will crush. Now, the koiches to finish on what the Ramban says, if you take the pasuk, Lech Lecha me'atzecha u'mimeilatecha u'mibeis avicha. That's my last thing. To understand, we are not talking here about a specific nisayon. We're talking in general. Now, add the midah of emes because Avraham Avinu provided the emes to Yaakov. So, with emes equals 1,929. It says in the pasuk about Yaakov, Kol Hanefesh. What is it? Lebeis Yaakov Haba'a Mitzrayma. They went down to be cleansed because of Avraham. Equal Asher Hoitseisa, is the Aleph or not? Yes. Me'eretz Mitzrayim Bekoyach gadol uviyad chazak. Bekoyach. Exactly. The whole thing started with Avraham Avinu. We're going to see the Emek on Shabbos in the Shir. But everything started with Yaakov Avinu. They go in Mitzrayim to become Bnei Yisrael through Avraham Avinu. They come out of Mitzrayim through Lech Lecha me'atzecha mi'meilatecha mi'beis avicha, because he did it with the pure chesed, with the emes. And Mimela, he was a true tzaddik. And because of him, because of the schus of Avraham Avinu, we went to Mitzrayim, but we can't. The Gam Anochi Alecha Gam Aloi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised Yaakov Avinu that he's going down with him, but he will come up with him. Why? Because of the schus of Avraham Avinu. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Amen Amen. From there we see Avas Hashem, Simcha in Mitzvah, you overcome in Israel.